Welcome back, my fellow illustrators. First and foremost, before we get into today's episode, if I sound different, if I sound nasally, or my voice is foggy, or even extra deep, it's because I have a cold, something that I normally never get. But for some strange reason, I have one. But the point is, I cannot let my cold stop this podcast episode. Chadwick Boseman had cancer when he was still performing his final roles. Charlie Murphy of the Dave Chappelle Show, he had cancer while he was performing his final role in Power. And Tony Todd, Candyman fame and Final Destination fame, had cancer when he was filming his last scenes in their last Final Destination movie. So you mean to tell me that I can't perform on my podcast because I have a little cold? These men were dying. But the point is, we have to learn how to not let small things hinder us. And like I said, I enjoy this podcast and I believe my illustrators do too. So just because I have a cold, I'm going to let that stop me? Nah. In the words of Hall & Oates, I can't go for that. Now, let's get into it. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a story is the moment when everything you believed turns out to be wrong. The hero was not the hero. The villain wasn't the villain. And the story that you thought you were watching was never the real story at all. And that's the power of a plot twist. I want to talk about life plot twists because sometimes life doesn't just surprise you. Sometimes it rewires the entire script. Welcome to Articulated Illustration, where we see things from unusual angles. I'm your host, Dwane Richardson Sr. This podcast is sponsored by me, but if you want to help keep the ink flowing and become one of the illustrators supporting the show, you can do that through the Buzzsprout support link or buy me a coffee in the description. Every bit of support helps keep the illustration going. Now, let's get into today's illustration. Some of the greatest stories ever told are remembered for one thing: the twist. That moment where everything flips, where the audience suddenly realizes they've been looking at the wrong picture the entire time. And when that happens, the entire story suddenly becomes deeper. Because the twist forces you to re-examine everything that came before it. The word of the day is reframe. Reframe means to look at the same situation, but through a different perspective. Nothing about the situation changes. The facts stay the same, but the meaning changes. Think about a picture hanging on a wall. The picture does not change, but the frame around it can make it feel elegant, dramatic, or completely different. And that's exactly what a plot twist does. It doesn't change what happened earlier in the story. It changes how you understand or understood what happened. Suddenly the strange moments make sense. The awkward conversations make sense. The clues that seem random now become the pieces that were pointing towards the truth the whole time. And that's a reframe. And it works because of something else. Perspective. Perspective is the lens you see life through. Two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different meanings. Same situation, different perspective. And sometimes the difference between a broken story and a powerful story is simply the frame that you choose to place around it. Now, but before we go any further, spoiler alert. I'm about to reference a few famous movie plot twists. So, if you haven't seen them yet, you might want to look at them then come back. If not, we're about to rock and roll. Now, let's start with The Sixth Sense. For the entire movie, you believe the psychologist is helping a young boy who can see ghosts. But the twist? The psychologist was dead the entire time. And when you realize that, you immediately start replaying every earlier scene in your mind. Everything suddenly means something different. Then there's the usual suspects. The police believe that they are interviewing a small-time criminal, a harmless man named Verbal Kent. Weak, unimportant, until the detective realizes something chilling. The story Verbal told was built from random objects in the room, and the man sitting right in front of him was no other than the legendary criminal mastermind Kaiser Soze the whole time. Then there's another one of my favorites. I really didn't realize I had two of my favorites on this list. But then there's Gone Girl. Gone Girl threw me for a true loop. The entire country believes that a husband murdered his wife. The media convicts him. The public convicts him. But the twist? She planned the entire thing. She framed him, and she did it in a beautiful way. She manipulated the narrative. The victim was actually the architect. Now we have Fight Club, one of the most famous twists ever. Tyler Durden was never real. He was a projection of the narrator's fractured mind. The enemy he was chasing was himself. The villain and the victim were the same person. And I'm going to do an articulated illustration episode on something similar to that real soon. Right now, it might not make sense, but when the episode drops, I promise you it will. Now you probably wondering, Dwane, what's the point of these movie references? Well, let me tell you. The real point is, movies aren't the only place where plot twists happen. Life does it too. Sometimes the person that you trusted the most becomes the person that betrays you. They become the villain. Sometimes the career that you thought would define you disappears. And sometimes the relationship you thought was forever, it ends. Sometimes the plan that you built your life around, it falls apart overnight. But some plot twists are written by us, but others are written for us. Life forces them. A betrayal, a layoff, a health diagnosis, a divorce, a failure. Suddenly the life that you thought you were living isn't the life that you are living anymore. But here's what most people miss. Just because life introduces a twist, it does not mean the story is over, people. It just means the story has changed direction. Every great story has conflict. Every great story has tension. Every great story has moments where everything falls apart. And those moments often become the turning point. Now here's the articulated illustration of today's episode. Imagine watching a movie where everything goes perfectly. No setbacks, no conflict, no surprises. Just a straight line from beginning to success. Now let's be real. Would you watch it? Probably not. Because stories without tension aren't interesting. But the same twists we enjoy watching the movies, they terrify us when they happen in our own lives. Because when it happens to us, we think the story is breaking, when in reality, the story just might be getting good. Plot twists are coming whether we are ready for them or not. That's guaranteed. The real question is this. When the twist happens, will you quit the story? Or will you keep writing it? Because the people who win in life aren't the ones who avoided twists. They're the ones who rewrote the ending. If today's illustration made you think, share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want to help keep the ink flowing and become one of the illustrators supporting the podcast, you can do that through the Buy Me a Coffee or Buzzsprout support link in the description. Your support helps keep the illustration going. To everyone listening, and to all the illustrators out there helping this vision grow, I want you all to know I greatly appreciate you. And always remember to do what's absolutely necessary every day. Keep illustrating your life. Why? Because it's your dream, your vision. So keep the pen in your hand, and I'll see you in the next illustration.